Hey y'all, welcome to Pleiadian Point of View. I'm Peyton with Peyton Energetics, and I'm a Pleiadian channel and starseed coach. So in today's POV, the Pleiadians wanted to chat with us about how we give up our creative control without realizing it. But before we jump into today's topic, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. So the bees have kind of a meaty topic to talk with us about today because they've noticed that as humans, we have a habit of giving up our sovereignty. We give up the ability and the right to create our own reality. So in today's video, the P's are going to be talking to us about how we can take that back. Now, as humans, one of the ways that we are programmed to operate is we look out at the world around us and react to it. We think there is a solid physical reality out there. But what we don't realize is that we are always defining that reality. But it's so tempting as humans to grab our phones, jump on a video, and have our reality presented to us. Have someone tell us what is real. This is how the 3D matrix was designed to operate. This is one of the reasons why one of the most powerful tools of the 3D matrix is news, is external information, because it is how we are fed our reality. We are actually trained as humans to let other people tell us what is real. But here's the problem, y'all. When we buy into that, we are creating a reality that someone else designed. And as you can tell, as you look around at the world around you, that hasn't worked out great for us. So it is time for us, according to the Pleiadians, to take back our creative control. Because without realizing it, we are constantly tuning in to someone else's narrative, someone else's definition of what is happening. But the problem is that version serves them. It doesn't serve you. So one of the ways that the P's notice that humans give up their power as creators is by the amount of time and energy we give to external sources of information. Every time we are tuning into a news story, watching a video, following someone on social media, we are allowing them to tell us what reality is. But here's the thing, y'all. Reality is neutral. It is whatever you define it as. So when we buy into external sources of information, especially when they're ones that we don't care for, ones that make us angry or fearful or frustrated, we are completely giving up our creative power. But the good thing is we always have the power to take back the narrative. Everything is the meaning you give it. There is no reality out there, as the Pleiadians like to say. It is all a projection from within you. Your mind creates the external reality based on your particular network of beliefs. So your beliefs are always going to mirror back to you in your reality. So here's one of the interesting things that happens as you start to give this some thought and start to take back control over the story of your life. You start to realize that almost everything you believe came from someone else, right? So much of it we can trace back to our childhood. Some of those foundational human beliefs. We believe that life is hard. We believe we have to get sick and get old and die. We believe that money doesn't grow on trees. All of these, as you are hearing some of these basic foundational human beliefs, you can probably hear your mom saying them. I know that I can. So a lot of our kind of core beliefs as humans aren't even ours. They were fed to us when we were young and impressionable and didn't know any better. And because they were told to us by people we were dependent on, namely our parents, most of us took it as truth. But it's just one version of the story. So when we start to look at those beliefs that as humans we are kind of ready to be done with, all those stories of lack, limitation, struggle, hardship, if you trace those back to when you first heard that story, you can probably trace it back to someone else. Either your family, your religious upbringing, your education. All of this has fed us a very specific diet of particular beliefs. We are taught our entire life what to think. And because we are the powerful, infinite creators we create and manifest this in the world around us. And then we think we're stuck with it. But what the Pleiadians wanted to remind us of is nothing actually exists except for your definitions. So if you have a definition that life is hard, no matter what happens, you are going to have an experience of life being hard. Not because that is objective fact, but because that is your chosen storyline. And here's the thing, y'all, we can change the story anytime. But we have to realize how much of this power we're actually giving up. And once we start to realize that 99.99% of what we don't like in the world stems from beliefs that aren't even ours, the amazing thing is we can change it in a moment. Once we realize that we have just temporarily given up our creative power. But this takes an act of what the P's have been calling radical sovereignty. We have to be willing to start telling a story that is different from what the rest of the world is telling. So if the rest of humanity is telling a story of lack, limitation, suffering, abuse, it takes some real strength of character to say, not in my reality. I don't choose to project that as my quantum reality. And that's what we are coming into in the current energies. We are taking back the power to define our reality because that's all there is. There is no reality. There is only your definition of it. So the P's wanted to bring our attention to this so that we could start questioning some of those storylines we've been fed. Because we are bombarded 24/7 with other people who want to tell us what reality is. Lots of people make a lot of money telling you what reality is. And if you go along with it, you take your God consciousness power to build their version of reality. When we start to think about it that way, we start to realize that that is not something we are going to be participating in anymore. And we start to feel empowered to redefine the story. But we've got to be willing to go against the crowd. Because the crowd is going into a smaller and smaller box. And we don't have to participate in that. Because again, there is no reality. There is only our definition. Because as the P's like to tell us, if you believe it, you own it. When you start to tell a better story, one that you actually prefer, the universe never says no. The universe says, of course, that's what will bring you. But we've got to start telling a different story. So that is how we step back into our shoes as fifth dimensional sovereign beings. We've got to start going against the flow. Start taking back our main power, which is to define everything. So that is what the P's wanted to share with you in today's POV. Hope it helps you out. As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you haven't done that yet. I'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.